What's going on, Trade Pros? This is Mark from TRADEPRO Academy, and in this weekend's video, I'm going to be discussing with you guys some tips and tricks you can use in order to grow a small trading account. We're going to roll the intro and get right after it. All right, Trade Pros. So let's go ahead and get started with some tips and tricks on how to grow a small trading account. Now, before I kind of go into those, I do want to bring up this important point, and that is that regardless of how much capital you have to start trading with, you want to start small, right? Whether you're starting with 5 grand, 2 grand, or if you've got capital, 10K, 20K, 30K, whatever it is, 100K, everybody should start with a small account. Reason for that being is you're entering a new industry, you're learning new information, and you're learning to apply that information in real time. And as such, you're gonna make mistakes. And you want those mistakes to be cheap at the beginning of your career, right? You don't wanna shoot yourself in the foot by starting with a large account and making those early new trader mistakes that are gonna cost you a good chunk of capital. And so this is why we say it's always good to start with a smaller amount. Depending on what type of asset you're gonna be trading, you'd wanna start with anywhere between, let's say, $5,000 to $10,000, all right? You can go to the lower end, maybe 2,000, but generally you don't wanna start with more than 10K because like I said, when you're starting out, you are going to be making mistakes, right? If you're not making mistakes, you're not progressing, you're not trying new things. And so mistakes are part and parcel of the learning process. And so our recommendation to you is to start with a smaller size account so that you get those mistakes out of the way with a cheaper ticket, if you will, a cheaper ticket for the cost of admission. All right, so that's what we got on that. Now let's jump into some of these tips and tricks to get you guys growing that small account. Tip number 1, expectations. Expectations are absolutely huge. Your expectations will drive your decision making, all right? And so if you're coming into this industry with the expectation that you're going to replace a full-time income by trading a $2,000 account, you're gonna be hit with a harsh dose of reality. Not very likely to happen. Sure, it can happen, but it's not very likely to happen. And if you start with the small account and you're trying to swing it into, a 6-figure account within, like 6 months, you're gonna be taking wild risk on that account. And all it takes, if you do build that account up to say 6 figures, is one mistake, and then you could blow it all. You can blow it all and lose all of those gains. So tip number 1, make sure to set proper expectations, all right? The expectations here when you're starting off is not to make money, all right? You are likely to lose money at first for, quite some months before you start to get a little bit more consistent with your strategy, with your risk management, and with the execution. So tip number 1, set those expectations accordingly. If you're starting small, aim for small wins, all right? You're not looking to make $1,000 on a $2,000 account on a daily basis. You wanna aim for small percent returns. Starting with a 2K account, you can look to make $25 a day. Now that's not huge in terms of dollar value, but if you can get to the point where you're consistently making $25 a day, all that it takes to scale that up to 250 bucks a day or even 2,500 a day is the position size, all right? And so we often say here at TRADEPRO Academy, you have to earn the right to trade a larger size, and that is how to do it. Number 1, first and foremost, setting expectations accordingly. Tip number 2, risk management. Surprise, surprise, it's a wild one, right? So risk management is always important, but even more so when you are trading a smaller size account, simply because you've got a little bit less wiggle room as far as flexibility. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to have strict risk management in play. Now, this means you're gonna be trading within the risk principles, risk parameters. So generally speaking, risking 1% to 2% of the account per trade, making sure that you are within those limits when you're starting off, because if you start off and you start getting a little bit sloppy with that risk management, while it might not hurt you as much with a small account, if you do eventually add to that account size and you start trading a larger account, sloppy risk management with a small account you can get away with. Sloppy risk management with a larger size account, you can't really get away with that. So the big focus to growing that small account, tip number 2 is to focus on strict risk management. And that kind of segues into tip number 3, which is avoiding daily profit targets when you are just starting out. All right, oftentimes when we start in this industry, we want to set a certain amount of profit that we want to make for the day. For some people that's $200 a day, for some people that's $500, for some people that's $1,000, for some 10,000 plus is what they're going for on the day. While that's okay, once you're a little bit more consistent, when starting off, it's very important to shift your focus from the profits to the risk side of things. So instead of having a target for a profit that you're aiming for the day, instead of doing that, what you should focus on is setting a strict dollar amount that you're willing to risk on the day. And if that figure is hit, you are done on the session. Okay, so in the event where you are willing to risk, let's say $50 to $100 per day, that is what you're gonna be going into with every single day, knowing that you're gonna be willing to risk $50 to $100 based on your strategy, your risk principles. That being said, your goal or when you should walk away for the day is if you have hit the equivalent of profits. All right, so let's say you're starting with a $2,000 account. You want to make you want to risk say 25 to 50 bucks a day, and so in doing so, if you risk 20 to 50 bucks a day and your profit on that day might be say around 50 to 100 bucks, 1 times to 1.5 times what you're willing to risk, that would be a good day. That could be a day that you walk away. All right. So those first 3 tips in summary: setting the right expectations. Number 2, risk management, strict risk management. And number 3 is avoiding having daily profit goals and instead shifting that focus on how many dollars you're willing to risk for that session. All right. Tip number 4 to growing a small account is to look for singles and doubles. All right. Oftentimes when we start with a new industry, especially with trading, because there is the potential to make life-changing money, we start looking for home runs when you've got a small account. All right. You get into a trade, you're looking for, an absolute grand slam. That's going to get you hurt in the long run because you're not going to be learning the right processes as it relates to qualifying trades, getting paid in trades, and managing trades. All right. If you get into a trade, you might have a certain bracket set up, and then you see it's going your way, and you decide, this is the one that's going to be, a 10 bagger or a 20 bagger. So you remove that take profit, you extend it all the way up. The market may climb a little bit higher, ultimately pulls back and takes you out of that trade. Now you are upset. Now emotions start to come in and you become vulnerable to making emotional decisions, which is what you want to stay absolutely away from when you're trading. All right. So tip number 4, just to reiterate, is look for singles and doubles. All right. As it relates to futures, we generally look for moves that are, 2 to 3 points as our initial take profits. That's what we're looking to get paid. Anything above that would be considered a runner. All right. And so the goal here is not to look for runners, but to consistently get paid on singles and doubles. And you'll eventually get that one runner here or there that may make your day, your week, and or your month. All right. So the focus is singles and doubles and maybe leaving a runner to turn it into a grand slam, not looking for grand slams off the bat. All right, guys, tip number 5, don't quit your day job. All right, don't quit your day job when you're initially starting out in this industry. From our own experience, the people that struggle the most when they enter this industry are the ones that take the dive, quit their day jobs, decide they want to start day trading, and it starts with a small account. All right, you are really putting the obstacles against yourself for success. And as you're learning, you want to have another source of income so that you're not relying solely on trading income to pay your bills. All right, that's going to put a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself. That's going to weigh on your psychology. And that also leads to a little bit of enhanced emotions, if you will. You're gonna feel fear a little bit more. You're gonna feel FOMO a little bit more. So give yourself the best chance of success. Don't quit your day job. If you're considering doing something, at least have, at least 6 months worth of savings in the bank, all right? And you're gonna wanna have some signs of success or consistency before even considering something like that. All right, so tip number 5 on growing a small trading account: don't quit your day job. Have another stream of income while you're learning how to consistently apply a process in the markets. And the sixth tip and trick to grow a small trading account. This one is very, very important, and it's to avoid comparing yourself with others. All right, we live in a society that is enamored by social media, by instant gratification. And anytime you go online and you search anything in the trading industry, you will find people posting massive gains. All right, and then if you see something like that, and you might have had a good day, you might have followed your process with that small account, you might be up 25 bucks, and then you go on to social media, you jump on Instagram, and then you see somebody posting a profit on the day of, let's say, 10 grand. All right, you look at that 10 grand, you look at your 25 bucks, all of a sudden you're upset with with what you have, whereas you don't really know what that person had to do to get to that point. All right, you haven't seen their journey. And so we often say here in TRADEPRO Academy, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 20, right? Because that will often influence you to feel disappointment. But when in reality, if you're following your process and you've got a profit at the end of the day, that is a win. All right, understand you've got to stay in your own lane. What people post on social media has really nothing to do with your process, with your strategy, with your psychology. All right, so keep it that way. If you are going to be active on social media and looking at these kinds of things, do a social media audit. Look for accounts that don't just post, profit and losses, but actually post learning lessons. You want to see people that post learning lessons, and you also want to be following other accounts that are encouraging you as traders and not, pointing the finger back at you. So those are the 6 tips to grow a small trading account. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know by smashing that like button and by subscribing to this channel. The unfortunate reality is that about 70+% of you guys are not subscribed. So you guys are missing out on valuable information and content. If you don't want to miss out on that, make sure to subscribe. And also, we do have a free trading community that you guys can join to follow along with our market commentary, pre-market, live market analysis, as well as, summarizing key news drivers to help you guys stay on the right side of the market. You can get there at community.tradeproacademy.com. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave some comments down below. Until next time, good luck and good trading.